Hi, this is Sean with Your Work, Your Success. I have an idea for you to try. In this episode, I'm going to start with your assignment up front, and then I'm going to give you an example of how to do it. So this is what I want you to do. Read a book. Pick something, whatever you want. And then when you get to something that makes you say, how does that thing work? Or, I've never heard of that place, I want you to highlight it. And then keep going, keep reading through the book. As you get to something else, highlight that one. Keep doing that until you finish or you want to take a break. And when you get a chance, you're going to go back and you're going to look up all your highlights. You're going to pick one of them and then you're going to do some research on it. You're going to look it up, maybe read an article on it. And when there's things in the article that you don't understand, you're going to look those up. And maybe there'll be some things in those explanations that you don't understand, and you're going to look those up. Eventually, you're going to have all these breadcrumbs to follow back to where you want to be, and you're going to understand this new concept. Now, you may not be all that used to reading for fun. That's okay. Pick a short story or a magazine article, and I don't care what you read. Pick a mystery novel, or something about hockey, or the history of bow hunting in Canada. I really don't care. It's your pick. This assignment is meant to be enjoyable. So pick something that is some topic that's of interest to you. I started using this technique years ago. My grandmother was a teacher, and she gave all the grandkids these really good college level dictionaries. So this is like 40 years ago. I was reading something. It wasn't the dictionary. I was just reading something, probably something scientific. I've always been interested in how things work. And as I was reading, I got to something I didn't understand. So I looked the word up in the dictionary. Well, I wrote down the definition, and there were a whole bunch of words in the definition I didn't understand. So I looked those words up. And then there were words in those definitions that I didn't understand. So again, I looked those ones up. Eventually, I had pages and pages of notes. This probably took me the better part of a week. But I was able to follow all the breadcrumbs back to understand the original concept that I was trying to understand. Now, I came up with this technique on my own, but it turns out that it is actually very similar to something called the Feynman technique. I've included a link in the description below the episode to somebody else's video where he explains how the Feynman technique works, how you can use it. It's really handy. So here's your example. I just finished reading The Martian by Andy Weir. I love this book. I've actually read it a bunch of times. And it would really be a good book for you to try this with, but you get to pick whatever you want. So this is me doing this assignment with The Martian. Spoiler alert, I'm going to give away some things that happen pretty early in the movie. So if you don't want me to wreck it for you, stop watching now. Still with me? Good. Okay, here we go. So I start reading the story, and I see that the main character's spacesuit is punctured, but blood congeals the hole, and so he doesn't die. I highlight that. Next, I see him growing potatoes on Mars, or he figures he can grow potatoes on Mars. I highlight that. Next, I see that he's figured out how to make water out of rocket fuel components. Another highlight. So I keep reading. Now, either when I've finished reading the book or when I want to take a break from reading, I go back and I look up all the highlights. And I pick just one of them. I'm going to pick how to make water because that one's the most interesting to me right now. So I write down, how do I make water? And there's a point to this. So I write it down and then I start to research it. I'll go to Wikipedia and first I look up water. Okay, I read this article And, what's this? A chemical formula. What's a chemical formula? Look it up. Back to the water article. Oxygen and hydrogen. Well, let's see. The Martian mentioned something about hydrogen. What's that? Next I go and look, maybe I'll scroll down the bottom and read some of the articles. Maybe I'll even check out YouTube, see if there's anything there that's of value to me. Now I realize I'm zipping through this really fast. This process might take you hours or days or weeks, depending on what you're trying to teach yourself, but it's worth it. So now that I've made all my notes and I've looked all these things up, now I have all these breadcrumbs that I can follow back to get an understanding of the original concept. Now, you know, when I came up with this technique, I was writing notes by hand. You can do it by hand or do it on the computer, and you might be thinking, Sean, we're in the information age. I got information at my fingertips. Just a single click and I'm there. That's true, we are. But making notes is still important. And the reason is because we tend to skim when we read. And we really skim when we get to some concept that's unfamiliar to us. So if you stop long enough to write notes down, especially if it's in your own words, it forces you to slow down and think about it, to kind of let the information process in your head. That's how you learn. So do write the notes because it's really important. Now, I was using this technique just the other day at work. I was doing something on the computer and I got some error code that I'd never seen before. Okay, well, I Googled the error code. Okay, there's an explanation. Well, there were things I didn't understand in the explanation. So I looked those things up. And again, there were a few things I didn't understand in that explanation. So I looked those things up. Eventually, I figured out enough so that I could solve my problem. Now this happens in IT all the time, by the way. You're constantly getting things you don't understand and you're having to research it. That's your assignment. Have a bit of fun with it. Now before I go, you might be wondering two things. First, how am I supposed to find all this time to do all these assignments you keep giving me? But we're going to talk about that in the next episode. Second, you might be thinking that I've been kind of focusing on book learning and it sort of feels like I'm trying to aim you at an office job or something indoor. And you want to go into a trade. It doesn't matter. Whatever you want to do, if you want to do any kind of quality work, you're going to have to learn how to learn. And a lot of times you're going to have to learn how to teach yourself things. So these skills will still be important. That's all for now. Subscribe to the channel so you get all the episodes. Have fun with the assignment. This is your work, your success.